Welcome to New Life Live, the premier place to receive free advice from Christian psychologists and counselors for the mental, emotional, relational, and spiritual challenges you face. Since 1988, we've offered compassionate responses that combine God's truth with proven psychological principles to guide you toward healing. Our phone lines are open. Call us now at 1-800-229-3000.
Welcome to New Life Live. I'm your host, Brian Perez. It is so great having you with us today. We've got licensed marriage and family therapist JJ West answering your questions. And we've also got clinical psychologist Dr. Jill Hubbard. How are you doing, Jill?
Hi, Brian. Hi, JJ.
Hey, guys. Great to be on.
Yeah.
What's on your mind today, Jill?
Okay. Well, as usual, lots of things are on my mind. So hopefully it will all make sense. So I cannot let this week go by with it being Holy Week and not mentioning this. So I want to talk about Holy Week and a little bit about long suffering. Okay? And today is Thursday. So it's Maundy Thursday. Yep. It's one of my favorite services. When my daughter was away at school, my son and I started going to Maundy Thursday together, and it just was such a special time. It's like a really kind of dark service, but it's also celebrating the Last Supper. It's just very meaningful. So I love all of the weeks of Holy Week, and I think, again, the older I get, the more I appreciate it. And I like to think about what it must have been like for the disciples, right? That they're, hopeful and they're anticipating, and for the crowd that was there, right? When Jesus rides in on Palm Sunday, right? They're hopeful, right? They're saying, Hosanna, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. And so one minute we find ourselves in life celebrating, right? We're excited. And then as the week goes on and Jesus gets a little more intense, right? The next minute we're facing trials. And when we can step back and look at the whole picture, and if we could do that in life, wouldn't that be great, right? Whenever a trial comes, if you knew it was going to be over quickly and it was going to have a good outcome, that's a piece of cake. But most of us are not prepared that sometimes we're being set up for long suffering. So like we grow up and we live through our life and then we get through it all. We get to watch our kids do it all over again. And then we get to watch our grandkids do it all over again. And don't we want to help them? Don't we get so many calls? You want to help them. You want to prepare them. What could I say to them to make them listen? But I think until you've lived something, there's no way to be fully prepared. And so we have to carry the burden, just like Jesus did in a sense, right, of watching them live through something that they had no idea of what was going to happen. I think about the parable of the wedding. And a lot of people are studying at church parables right now, the parable of the wedding banquet, and how, all this prep went in and people weren't interested, right? Or they didn't get the invite, or, it's like we do a lot of prep, but the outcome is not always what we think. Right. Recently, I've been planning a special family event, and I've sent out invites, and I just discovered that a lot of my invites came back, and they all look like they've been run over by a truck.
Oh, no.
Which is really, right? And so sometimes we feel in life, and now I'm running out of time, we feel in like we've been run over by a truck, right? But if we patiently work through and peel back the layers, there's actually something beautiful inside, right? Yeah. So, hopefully people will not be put off by my invites and we'll look inside. Anyway, I have more random thoughts. If you want to hear them after the break.
Sure, why not? We will do that here on New Life Live, and we're also going to talk to you guys that are calling into the program. I see Tom calling in from Los Angeles. We'll get to you in just a minute here on New Life Live. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for watching, and thank you for supporting us as well.
We've been married 33 years. We attended the Intimacy and Marriage Workshop. Even though we've read books, or attended a few other marriage weekends, this was certainly different and a lot more intensive than initially that we thought.
When you come to intimacy in marriage, you're going to be immersed into a 3-day process.
Was not really sure exactly what to expect, but the idea of learning to really understand intimacy was intriguing. We had been in the same patterns of struggle over and over again.
If you've thought, I don't think we can ever change, we're just in this rut and we can't get out, the Intimacy in Marriage workshop can help you get out of the rut.
The Intimacy in Marriage Weekend is July 25th to the 27th in Washington, D.C. Register online at newlife.com or call 1-800-NEW-LIFE and use the discount code NLL to save $50. 1-800-639-5433.
I would highly recommend it.
To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
It is Holy Week. It is Monday, Thursday. Some people call it Passion Week as well. We'll just call it Holy Passion Week, and that way we can do both. But Dr. Jill Hubbard opened up with some statements, and she wanted to finish up her...
some more random thoughts on Holy Week and all of that. So when we think of Holy Week and what the people there were experiencing, they wanted a rescuer, right? We all want a rescuer. We all want the good God story, right? Marriages, we want the marriage that's on the rocks to overcome and have the story of the good witness, right? Look, we've been through all this and now it's victorious. And I know in times in my life when I've gone through hard times, and certainly, marriage, divorce kind of thing, you want that. It's like, why wouldn't God want this? Why can't we have the good story? And instead, what you get is life lessons on growing your capacity to handle long suffering and endurance and patience and all these things. And this is what the disciples were getting. They were in mourning on Silent Saturday, right? They had no idea what was coming. And so sometimes we need to be aware of that. Sometimes life can seem mundane. It can seem like we're not getting, like, what is God doing? And then a day can make a difference. Yeah. Right? Yep. And so our long suffering is not for naught. And sometimes God uses another person's hardened heart to close a door for us, only so then he can open a window somewhere else, right? So that door-window analogy, right? But he does use people who hurt us to grow us and enrich our lives. So do not lose hope.
Don't lose hope. If you're like at the end of your rope, we would love to talk to you about whatever it is you're going through, suffering and everything. So give us a call here at New Life Live. Right now, we're going to go to the phones and speak with Tom in Los Angeles, listening on KKLA. Hi there, Tom. Welcome to New Life Live.
Hi. Thank you very much for taking my call. I have a question about a friend of mine who is a computer programmer, and he is very anxious about AI and how it's going to impact him. As a matter of fact, that's the talk a lot in the industry of computers, computer programming, how AI is going to impact them. And I was just wondering if there's something I could tell him that could be helpful, or, maybe even have him listen to this show. Of course, I can't answer for him specifics, but I do know in general that many people have anxiety about the future along the lines of AI and what's ahead for us, the uncertainty of it all. And how do we deal with that kind of anxiety?
Tom, how old is your friend, if I may ask?
He's 34.
Okay.
34.
Yeah.
JJ, what do you say?
Yeah. So, Tom, thanks for your call. And yes, definitely, we would encourage him to listen to the show. That would be great. But hopefully we can share something here that would be helpful as well. You're absolutely right that the anxiety about the future is nothing new. Now, right now, the current season, what we're anxious about, a lot of people are anxious about, is the impact of AI. When I was an early adult, the big thing was Y2K. What's going to happen when all of the computers roll over to the year 2000? Before that, there were other things, right? And after AI, there will be other things as well that we get anxious about. And the thing with anxiety is, so often it surrounds, there's something out there that's unknown that I can't control. And so I go into anxiety hoping that I can find a way to fix this, to solve this, to control this, so that I can ensure that my future goes the way I want it to. Mm-hmm. And so what we need to do is we need to turn to Scripture. Peter tells the early church to cast their anxiety on God because he cares for you. But that instruction follows a previous instruction, which says to humble yourselves, therefore, under God's mighty hand, that he may lift you up in due time. So it starts with recognizing, okay, you're God and you're in control. I'm not. And not only are you God and in control, but you're also a good God, a good Father who cares for me, and I can trust you. I don't know how AI is going to impact computer programming. It may be that a lot of jobs are lost or changed. I don't know what that will look like, but what I do is I trust God. Whatever happens, I can trust you. And so I'm going to humble myself in front of you under your mighty hand to say, God, I trust you to take care of me. I trust you to lead me. I trust you to show me the things that I need in order to provide for my family, take care of my bills and all of that. But I'm not going to get into this anxious frenzy where I think if I worry enough and I think enough and I plan enough, I'm going to solve this on my own. That's not humbling myself under God's mighty hand. That's exalting my ability to figure this out. So I want to do the reverse of what my natural flesh wants to do.
Jill?
Yeah, I think we have to take on that attitude for sure. But we don't just sit and wait. In our waiting, we also do our part. And so sometimes we need to think about diversifying and how can my, programming still be useful and what are other things I could do. I mean, if we could go back in time and ask all the people that worked for Encyclopedia Britannica what they're doing now, right?
Yes,
I mean, maybe they became Wikipedia. Who knows?
And all the encyclopedia door-to-door salesmen.
Yes, what are they doing? So that over time, lots of in the name of progress, lots of fields have been weeded out, but they need to morph and evolve, right? I mean, when I started in grad school, I had no idea I'd be sitting on a radio show. It was the last thing on my mind, believe me. But sometimes God takes our talents and our skills and plops us in new places and gives us a chance to grow there. So with the mindset that ultimately God's in control, and he's got the outcome. Okay, so what can we do from our perspective instead of spending all that time worrying and being anxious and losing sleep?
Right.
Okay, we have to kind of lean in and accept progress, and then, what's some footwork we can do while trusting?
Can I say one final thing?
Yeah, JJ.
So I do think it's important because the Scripture is replete with commands. Don't be afraid, don't be anxious, right? It's all through the Scriptures. And we can read that. I've said this before on the show, so forgive me for repeating myself. But we can read that as a command: do not be afraid, and you better do that because I'm in charge. Or we can read that as a parent standing in the pool with the little child on the edge of the pool, and he's saying, "It's okay. You don't have to be afraid. I've got you."
Yeah.
So it's not a denial of what you feel. It's not saying you better stop feeling afraid. It's saying, I know you're afraid, and in your fear, I'm inviting you to trust me that I'm here for you. And I think that's how God approaches us with our anxiety. I don't think he says, what's wrong with you, JJ? Why are you afraid? I told you to stop being afraid. I think he says, I know you're afraid. It's okay. I've got you.
Now, Tom, the reason I asked how old your friend was because 34 is relatively young. So maybe there are other things that he can get into. Maybe there's something he's always wanted to do aside from programming. So at the end,
and he's at the beginning, but it makes sense that he would be afraid. And a lot of young people are afraid of, what am I going to do? And, he's probably trained and went to school and figured this out, and now it could all fall apart, right?
And it's interesting, too, because just a few years ago, I think computer programming was the field that everybody wanted to get into, because everything's going online now. Let's teach our kids coding and how to be a programmer and all this other stuff. And now it's
but who codes AI?
Right?
Don't you need people to code AI?
I don't think AI can code itself, but I don't know.
Yeah. But that's how little I know about it.
Right. So what do you think, Tom?
Wow, that was really that was really helpful. He's gonna, I think, get a lot out of listening to this. I'll definitely point it. Thanks very much. That was very helpful. Appreciate that.
Yeah, Tom, thank you for calling in today. And there's a bunch of resources that we have on.
I have one that maybe we want to send.
Yeah.
Every Believer's Thought Life.
Okay.
That can maybe help with the worry and anxiety.
For sure. We will do that. So, Tom, stay on the phone and we'll send that out to you so that you can pass it on to your friend. This is New Life Live. I'm Brian Perez here with Dr. Jill Hubbard and JJ West. Jill is a clinical psychologist. JJ is a licensed marriage and family therapist. And we do this program for you to call in and ask your questions, talk about whatever it is you're going through, whether it's anxiety for yourself or a friend, like in Tom's case, or maybe suffering, like what Dr. Jill Hubbard was talking about at the beginning of the program. And we are here to do that for you. We can also get your question online. If you go to newlife.com/radio, you can send in your question as an email or as a voice message that we would play here on the radio program. We'll do some of those a little bit later, time permitting. But right now, I also want to talk about the Every Man's Battle Intensive that is coming up here not too long from now, not too far away from now. In fact, it's next weekend, April 25th in Washington, D.C. Now, JJ, you've been a part of Every Man's Battle for a long time. You're one of the facilitators. So what do you say to people? Why is it important for guys to show up to the Every Man's Battle Intensive?
It's important for guys to show up to the Every Man's Battle Intensive because God uses that intensive to bring about change and to set men free from years, in many cases, decades of bondage to sexual sin, sexual brokenness, whether that's addiction to pornography, emotional and physical affairs, strip clubs, massage parlors, you name it. There, we see the gamut. And so many times guys will come into the workshop and they are filled with shame. And it's actually the shame that's keeping them in this cycle of addiction. They don't realize that until they get to the workshop. Hopefully once they've left the workshop, the light bulb's starting to come on. But we create what we call a no shame zone there, because in order for guys to be able to be honest, to be able to be set free from their brokenness, they have to feel like it's a safe place to do so. And so we as a staff, we commit to creating a no shame zone for all the participants so that they can come in and talk about what's really going on, talk about the things that they're really struggling with so that they can then get help. And we see it over and over and over again. I use the same illustration all the time. It's like sitting on the 50-yard line and watching God work miracles in people's lives. It's a great gig. I love doing it. And I hope that guys will come with the expectancy that, man, there's actual hope for change. I don't have to stay stuck in this cycle over and over and over.
You can find out more about Every Man's Battle on our website, newlife.com, or call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. And again, the next Every Man's Battle Intensive is next weekend in Washington, D.C. It is not too late for you to sign up, so do it today. Don't put it off. 1-800-NEW-LIFE or newlife.com. Really quick, before we get to the break, JJ, or Jill, you can chime in on this too. And Jill, you talked about it being Holy Passion Week at the start of the program. But when it comes to things like addictions, we hear stories all the time of people who make that commitment to follow Christ and instantly the chains of addiction fall off and they're no longer bound to alcoholism or whatever the case might be. But then there's other things that people are going to struggle with for the rest of their lives. What is the difference between, why does that happen? Why is it that some addictions...
And I think that's what most addicts would hope for, right? That they would have.
Yes.
And don't we all want that from whatever we struggle with? That
Yes.
it would just instantly, God would change our hearts. And you're right, it does happen. But character change happens over time, and that doesn't absolve us from having to do the work, because if we don't do the work, then the gift that we've been given starts to dissipate. We habituate to good things, and they're not so shiny and new anymore. And so we need sustaining power. We need to work on ourselves. It's just like as a Christian, we're never done growing, right?
Yeah.
We need to keep working on ourselves, whether you're an addict or not, every single day.
All right, it is break time here on New Life Live. We'll come back with more conversation. I'm Brian Perez here with Dr. Jill Hubbard and JJ West, and we love talking to you guys. That's why we show up here every day to do this program, and we thank you for showing up as well, either listening on the radio or on a podcast or on YouTube. So many ways to listen nowadays. Make sure you participate too here at New Life Live.
Restore gave me strength. It gave me more belief in my faith. I met up with a group of women that are going through things that they had no control over.
If you've been affected by betrayal, an emotional or physical affair, or pornography, Restore Intensive will equip you with support and tools to help you through.
When two people want to do their part, we can be restored. But if they don't, we can still be restored. We are not stuck because someone else made a decision. That God lets us weigh in on how we want to walk out our lives. Our wellness does not hinge on another person's decision.
The Restore Intensive is coming to Dallas, Texas, May 2nd through the 4th. Register online at newlife.com or call 1-800-NEW-LIFE and use the discount code NLL to save $50.
I had a great experience at Restore.
1-800-NEW-LIFE and the discount code NLL.
I was sort of vaguely familiar that the 12 steps had some origination in the Bible. I found Life Recovery, and one of the things I liked so much was that it had such a broad appeal. It wasn't limited to just alcohol or drugs, that it was addressing a wide range of problems.
At New Life, we believe everyone can benefit from a life recovery experience. There are life recovery groups all over the country. They take place online, in conference calls, and in person. And if there isn't one in your area, we can help you start one. We have startup materials, leaders' guides, CDs, Bibles, and more, all with discounts available for groups. Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE and ask for Terry Ward. The 12 steps have long been a great help to people in recovery because much of the 12 steps' power comes from the fact that they capture principles clearly revealed in the Bible.
The 12 steps is really a pattern for all of us as Christians.
Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433. We'd love to hear from you. If you have a question or a comment, call toll-free 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
We are in the middle of a $500,000 matching gift right now at New Life Live. Every dollar you give will be doubled. That is amazing. It will help us do twice as much. It will help us provide twice as much hope and help as we already do. And just the thought of that makes me so happy. And I'm sure it makes Jill happy too.
Yes.
I hear her laughing there, and JJ West. And we would love for you to come alongside us. You can go to newlife.com. You can call 1-800-NEW-LIFE, or you can text the word match to 28950, and your gift will be doubled up to $500,000. All right. Earlier, I mentioned that there are different ways that you can get a hold of us here at New Life. And if you go to newlife.com/radio, you'll find out what those other ways are. One of them is to leave us a voice message, and we're going to play one of those right now.
Hi, this is Ginger, and my question is surrounding an issue that continues to surface in my marriage. My husband has issues with communicating. He grew up in a very dysfunctional family. In fact, we're actually low in contact with his parents now. So I'm not sure if the childhood is what's still contributing to this issue with my husband. But what happens is we'll make an agreement on something. It could be a household issue, purchasing something in our business. and we will come to a mutual agreement, and then he just won't stick with it, or he just decides he doesn't want to do it anymore. Half of the time it's his idea on what we're going to do, and then he just doesn't do it. And I don't know if it's a subconscious thing, like he's trying to punish me for something. I don't know if it's like a passive-aggressive thing. I don't know if it's from the terrible example he was modeled as to a marriage and how you have a healthy Christian marriage. But I would think with all the work we've done specifically in the last 5 years, he would be able to make progress in this area, and he doesn't. Should he be digging deeper into this? Like, could there be some sort of childhood trauma that's holding him back? Or do you think it is like something he's passively aggressively doing to me? Thank you.
Okay. What do you guys think? JJ?
Well, so yes, is it possible that there's childhood trauma that is forgotten, repressed, suppressed? Yes, it's possible. It's less likely that that's the case. It's certainly possible, though, so we're not ruling it out, but it's less common for that to be the case. What's more common is a pattern that was learned, whether expressly, openly done in front of him, or it was in the background, but it was a pattern that he learned in his family of origin, that this is the way we do things, that we make an agreement, that we don't follow through, and we just expect that everyone's going to go along with this change and not be upset and not make any waves about it. Okay, so Ginger, you said in your voicemail that you guys have been doing work and you've talked about this problem, and yet there's not been change. There's not been any sustained change. And number one, I'm just want to express sorrow for you, because I know that that's really frustrating. It's really disappointing when you think that, oh, we're doing this work, it's gonna lead to something new, something different. This is gonna be good, and then you get disappointed yet again that the same behavior repeats itself over and over and over. So I'm sorry that you're facing that. But then two, I think it raises the issue of needing to sit down with your husband and say, I don't understand why this keeps happening. I don't understand if we've made an agreement that we're moving forward with this plan, and then you don't follow through, or you change the plan, but you don't talk to me about it. There's no communication. You just do something different. Maybe he's unaware of how much that actually hurts you. Maybe he's unaware of how much that's breaking trust with you. Maybe he just thinks it's about the decision and, well, it just made more sense for me to do this instead of that because it was going to be less expensive, or it was going to be a shorter time period, or it was going to be more convenient for us, or whatever. But he hasn't actually considered how it's impacting your relationship long term. And so if that hasn't happened, if you haven't had that conversation, I do think that that's important, that he hears that from you, that you're breaking trust with me when you make an agreement and then you don't follow through. And that's having an impact on how I view you as my husband. That's having an impact on how I want to or don't want to be close to you, right? So it's going to be important for him to understand that because so often when we're talking about changes in behavior, the person who's being asked to change is just focused on the behavior and not focused on how it's impacting the relationship. And sometimes that's the very thing I need the motivation I need to change. So I would encourage you to have that conversation.
Jill Hubbard?
Well, I have a lot of thoughts. I love, JJ, what you're saying. Ginger, you talk about the dysfunctional family, and I think, you seem to really emphasize that it was very dysfunctional. And I agree. There's things that we learn or don't learn in dysfunctional families, and then the greater the dysfunction, usually the more chaotic a family can be. And, when you think about what their style was for communicating, for decision making, those would be important things to talk about with your husband. What was it like when you made a decision growing up? Were you ever disappointed, right? You want to also tap into some of his own experiences, because that will help him understand perhaps how you are feeling. So I have more thoughts when we come back.
Yes, we'll take those thoughts when we come back here on New Life Live.
Early on, looking at pornography that went into affairs, massage parlors, strip clubs with buddies. Before you know it, you're ashamed of that.
Every day, men struggle with sexual integrity, impure thoughts, strip clubs, affairs, pornography.
My wife got a phone call, and she asked me who this person was, and man, how do I get myself out of this one?
For over 20 years, New Life Ministries has been helping men regain their integrity and purity through their one-of-a-kind Every Man's Battle intensive.
When she said to me, I want you to look at this website named Every Man's Battle, she had me look, and I said, no, this is exactly where I need to be. This is exactly the problems I have, and I'm gonna go.
You don't have to struggle any longer. Get help in Washington, D.C., April 25th through the 27th. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE to register or to find out more. 1-800-639-5433 or online at newlife.com. Use the discount code NLL to save $50. Club New Life changes lives.
I think I go way back to listening to New Life, learning so much from it, and then becoming a Club New Life member.
Club New Life is a monthly giving family that helps New Life Ministries provide Christ-centered hope and counseling resources to thousands of people.
I'm so thankful because why I keep giving? Because I keep learning, and I'm so thankful for all the lives that you touch every day and the people's lives. So when I get to still hear the radio show, it's just so encouraging to my heart.
When you sign up to support us monthly through Club New Life, you'll make a difference in the lives of individuals and families with godly counsel and connection to help.
And one reason I give? Because I feel like sometimes I'm hiding behind a counselor's couch listening to all this great information and not paying. So my guilt of this great advice is alleviated by being a Club New Life member.
Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433. And together we can help hurting people find help and hope in life's hardest places. Call 1-800-639-5433 to join Club New Life today. We're glad you joined us for New Life Live. To be a part of the program, call 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
And we're back now to continue our discussion. I don't want to say with Ginger, because Ginger's not with us. She called in and left a voicemail, which is a way that you can get your question to us in case you're unable to call when we're here doing our programs live. You can find out all the details about that at newlife.com/radio. There's voice message, there's email that you can send us. Of course, the best way to talk to us is when we're here. You can call 1-800-229-3000. But Jill, the music started, so you can finish your
so
thoughts.
we were talking Ginger's call, and she gave us quite a bit. So, Ginger, we appreciate that. And so, again, your husband growing up in this family where, I would be, even though his story probably, sometimes kind of slow the movie down and maybe ask more questions of him. He sounds like someone who's perhaps highly ambivalent. So when we make a decision and we think it sounds good in the moment, right, then later you often have that buyer's remorse. Or if you're used to making decisions based on feelings, as soon as your feelings change, then your decision changes. So even if you don't think you're a feeling person, a lot of times you're still being ruled by feelings. And so I would want to ask my husband, if this were the case, like, what happens at that very moment that you decide to go in a different direction? What's the feeling that you have? What's the thought that you have, or the gut reaction that causes you to change course? And really get him to kind of slow down and backtrack, if he will, as long as you're not being accusatory and attacking, right? That you're just, let's be curious together, because I'm seeing this pattern in you and I don't know that it's malicious. Now, it may be both. It may be also passive aggressive, because if his family never dealt with anything directly, then how do they deal with their upset? They deal with it passive aggressively, right? So he may do that, but but getting him to, I think, reflect and say, okay, what is really going on for you? Because I can be mad at you all day long, and that's not going to change the issue that we have. And, for some people have a low need to communicate also, right? Even if they grew up in a functional family, have a lower need to communicate. Some people have a higher need to communicate. That can be frustrating when you're paired together. And so I think, to say, maybe Ginger, you say, I have a higher need to communicate. This isn't a judgment. It's not a bad or good thing. It's just a different thing. And sometimes I realize you have a low need to communicate. So I'm going to ask you, because you love me, to maybe tell me things that you think are redundant or not necessary. Right, which is another tactic. Or I'm going to ask you questions out of my need, not because I'm trying to check up on you or you're in trouble.
Control you.
Control you. So it's like kind of teasing out this conversation of being curious and not angry and upset with each other because we have assumed that the person is slighting us or is being mean to us, or, right? There's usually so much more going on if we have the time and the patience to look into it.
JJ?
There's a clip. I've not seen the show because I don't have the channel that it comes on, but there's a show. I won't name the show, but there's a clip that shows up on social media a lot where the quote, I think it's a Walt Whitman quote that says, "Be curious, not judgmental." And I think that's a really good strategy in relationships. That when we're having a conflict or we're having a scenario where there's something that we've talked about and it's not happening and I'm upset or you're upset, I want to be curious about what's going on with you. And so I ask questions. Help me understand. I don't want to be judgmental where I'm telling you you're not allowed to do that anymore. I want to tell you why I'm so angry with you, but I want to understand what's going on. And so to Ginger's call and to the point that we made earlier, they would be perfect candidates for the intimacy and marriage.
Oh, yes.
Intensive.
Yeah, they would.
Because it's going to help identify, is this pattern from childhood, or is this, and by the way, even if it is passive aggressive, that's still probably pattern from childhood.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah, no, I'm thinking it is.
But let's look at what the pattern is, and then let's equip you with new ways to communicate, because it's very possible that Ginger's husband wishes he could relate to her differently, but doesn't know how. And going through the intimacy and marriage intensive will allow him to learn the tools that he needs in order to communicate more effectively with her.
Right.
And hopefully then balance out, like you said, that high need for communication versus the low need for communication, where I say, okay, I'm not good at this, but I'm going to keep practicing. I'm going to keep learning, because it's a skill to develop, not a spiritual gift that I either get or don't get.
Right. And you're right, JJ. So many people just don't know how to. So a lot of times inside, I think there are spouses that are like a deer in a headlight. They don't know really what the other is asking. And a lot of times it's stereotypically, it's the men. And we women are asking for things that they can't relate to. We ask in a way, I just need you to love me more. Okay, well, what does that really look like? How do I do that, right?
Right. I just need you to make unicorns appear. Okay. I don't know how to do that, right? And it's so funny because we take on a shame with that. Like, I'm supposed to know.
Yes.
I'm supposed to already know how to do this. Well, why are you supposed to know if you grew up never learning this? It's never been modeled for you. Of course you wouldn't know.
Yeah.
The people who grow up in homes where this is taught, this is shown over and over, they have a distinct advantage. I always think of like the Manning family, right? Peyton and Eli and the rest of the gang, right? They had a distinct advantage because they grew up playing and learning about how to
maybe some
throw
genetics
a football,
too.
how to read defenses, and some incredible genetics, right?
Yeah.
It would take me a lot more work, plus a lot of stretching out and working out and all of these things in order to compete at that level. There's no way I could, and it's not shaming to me that I didn't grow up in that household.
Well, and
so it's not shaming to someone who grows up in a household where we didn't talk about things, there was passive aggressiveness, we didn't follow through on things. I didn't learn that. It's not shaming, but I can, through hard work, I can learn to relate differently. I can learn to live differently. Sorry.
That's okay. No, it's okay. I think even if you deem yourself the person that communicates more and maybe didn't grow up in as dysfunctional a family, I think when we experience another person's behavior over and over again, and then we draw conclusions about that, and we're frustrated with them, or we're mad at them, or we, get reactive with them, I think we also need to pause and say, okay, what am I telling myself about their behavior that I haven't fully understood or checked out with them? Yeah. Because there are things, he doesn't care about me, right? He's, like she said, is he doing this maliciously? He wants to get me. Okay, well, why would you think your husband wants to get you? Now, maybe there's enough evidence, but still to ask, where is that coming from in you? That's how you would interpret it versus, oh, he just doesn't know how, right? And a lot of times we give malicious intent to others and noble intent to ourselves, the theory of attribution. And so we have to look at that, right? We're not always so noble, and they're not always so out to get us.
Now, when people have been married for a long time, like JJ, you mentioned your recent 28-year wedding anniversary, do these things still come up? Because I know they do, because we get phone calls from people that have been married 40 years, and you would think that the longer you're with somebody, you do know how it is when the wife says, I need you to love me more. That the wife is now thinking, we've been doing this for 40 years now. You should know the answer to this. You should know what I like, what I don't like, and you keep doing it or not doing it. So what do you say about that, JJ?
Absolutely. It still happens 28 years later and 40 years later, for sure. You hope that there has been improvement. You hope that there has been growth, and there certainly has been opportunity. I've had many opportunities in 28 years to learn about my spouse, and she's had opportunity to learn about me. And so hopefully year 28, there's more information and more knowledge and more application of that knowledge in year 28 than there was in years 1 through 4 or 5. But just because there's an opportunity to learn doesn't mean I actually took the opportunity and learned. And so you can have 28, 30, 40, 50 years of marriage and have the same fights over and over because we never actually took the opportunity to learn the other person and learn ourselves and learn a new way.
Sometimes we shut the other person down and we figure we know everything and we put them in a box and we refuse to learn or be curious. And that's sad.
Now, if you've ever wondered how intimate your marriage is, we have a quiz to help you gauge this. Go to our website, newlife.com, go to the Intimacy and Marriage page. Here's the direct link, newlife.com/IIM. You can take the quiz there and then sign up for the Intimacy and Marriage Intensive. The next one is July 25th in Washington, D.C.
We all face days where life throws us a curveball and our routines or plans get disrupted. Things we wanted to do are forced to take a backseat to the unexpected demands of the day. If you normally listen to New Life Live on a radio station, well, you might not be able to that day. And on these hectic days when you're feeling stressed or frazzled, hearing the sound of counsel given on New Life Live is just what you need to navigate the unexpected things of life.
Every time I'm troubled or I have a problem, I'll cut on New Life, and there's always something that is said that is helpful to me.
By listening, I have learned more than I can ever express about how God wants me to live.
Download the New Life app for the easiest way to listen wherever you are and at a time that's convenient for you, or watch the show on our YouTube channel. You can even subscribe to our podcast from your favorite podcast provider. You never have to miss a day of New Life. Wherever you are, we are. For over 35 years, New Life has been the most trusted name in Christian counseling.
Your ministry has saved my life.
If you struggle with emotional hurt, family or marriage problems, the pit of depression, or the pain of addiction, we can help.
I'm down 100 pounds now from what I was.
I found a counselor through New Life Ministries, and it's just been outstanding.
Our treatment programs provide clinically appropriate solutions from licensed professionals, all in a biblical framework.
I have had problems with alcohol. I think God has ordained this place to be His.
You don't have to be a prisoner of your pain. Help is available at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
She tells me that I'm a new man, and I feel like a new man.
It worked for me, and it can work for them too.
This time it is different.
If you're ready to take the first steps toward genuine spiritual and emotional healing, call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. God can open the door for a better tomorrow.
To get someone that's competent, that's good at what they do, it's been like day and night compared to what I've had before.
Call 1-800-639-5433. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Do us a favor and tell someone about New Life. You listen for a reason, you watch for a reason. We would love to get more people listening and watching for their own reasons. You can tell them about newlife.com or share our videos on your social media platform, or just send them a text message. Say, hey, you know what? I think the episode today can really help you with what it is you're going through. So here's a link. You can find out more at newlife.com. And if you go to newlife.com/radio, you can send in your questions either as emails or as voicemails in case you're unable to call 1-800-229-3000 when we're here in the studio. That's what Victor did. He sent us an email, and this is what it says. When my wife pulls away from physical intimacy, I pull away emotionally. What do we do? For 19 years, my wife has often had reasons to avoid physical intimacy. I love her completely, mentally, emotionally, and physically, but I find myself pulling away emotionally. I don't want to, but I feel confused and unsure of how to handle this. I have no history of abuse. Neither of us has been unfaithful. I just don't know where to put these feelings, and it's creating distance in our marriage. I need help, says Victor. Well, Victor, you reached out to the right place. We've got Dr. Jill Hubbard and JJ West. Go ahead. Jill, we'll start with you.
Victor, I'm wondering if this has been the case, and I can't ask you directly, but throughout the whole marriage versus more recently. So it's been 19 years, so you're probably in midlife, thereabouts somewhere. So it often women may pull away physically as they are going through changes hormonally. So, that's always an issue to check out. Now, one of the things that is different about men and women is that a man's desire for the physical intimacy usually comes first, and then afterwards they're able to be more emotionally connected. For us women, it is the complete opposite. And so you have to think about, what is my wife's way of having sex? My wife's way of having sex is that we are really emotionally connected. We're having heart-to-heart conversations with eye contact and affection that isn't an automatic lead-in to sex, okay? So also, I feel safe emotionally. I feel like you really care about me and you want to know me. Therefore, after enough of that, I'm willing to give my body to you and actually want to. But if I have to give my body to you first and have no assurance that you're going to connect with me emotionally or even care about what I'm thinking, then why would I ever trust you to do that? And so it's like, if you want a woman to give you sex the way you like it, you've got to give her sex the way she likes it. And that is, you've got to be emotional, because we care less about what you look like and more about what's going on inside of our minds in terms of how we think about you. And we will see you as the most handsome guy ever if you are connected to us emotionally.
JJ?
Jill, that is so good. And I so appreciate
Sounds like Jill
sharing.
took that intimacy and marriage quiz that I was talking about.
And aced it, apparently.
Yes.
So that's so important, and I'm glad that you said that. There are significant differences in how we approach sex. There's actually a whole episode on the Every Man's Battle podcast on the differences between men and women when it comes to sex. I would encourage Victor, you to listen to that episode. I think that would be helpful. And I would say, in order to stay in the relationship and stay connected to your wife, when there's been these seasons where, and if you're currently in a season where she's not available or able to connect with you physically, one, I would say, practice a gratitude list. If you haven't already, write down 10 things that you appreciate, that you're grateful for about your wife. And once you've done that, do 10 more. And then once you've done that, do 10 more, and keep adding to the list, and then rehearse that list. When you start to feel yourself pulling away emotionally, return to that list and remind yourself of the things that you're grateful for. Secondly, I would encourage you, lean into empathy. You said in your message that your wife often had reasons to avoid physical intimacy. So what are those reasons? Rehearse that. Lean into empathy. Why did she have valid reasons to pull away physically? And own that and express compassion to her. That will also help soften your own heart and not invite you to pull away. And then third, I would encourage you to ask yourself, or have some guys who love you and care about you to do this. Ask yourself, what kind of man do I want to be? Because it's easy for me to retreat into, I'm not getting what I want, so I want to take my ball and go home, instead of choosing to be a man who's willing to be self-sacrificing, choosing to be a man who's willing to be empathetic, choosing to be a man who's willing to be long-suffering. So I want to ask myself, what kind of man do I want to be? Or if I don't have the strength to ask myself that question, that I've got some good men in my life who will ask me that question and remind me to focus on that, rather than just, listen, I get it. Of course, we want that physical intimacy. We're designed to want that physical intimacy, but we do have to understand, just like Jill was saying, we have to understand that if I haven't created that emotional bond with my wife, if I haven't spent time listening to her heart, drawing her out, then I'm asking her to perform sexually in a way that she wasn't designed to perform. She wasn't designed to respond to. So I want to make sure that I'm paying attention to how we're both designed, and we're experiencing a physical intimacy that is not just bodies connecting, but hearts and souls connecting.
Yeah, and JJ, you brought up, to kind of figure out what are the reasons that she has been shutting down legitimately. She's had excuses or reasons, because what is going on with with her, right? I mentioned the hormonal issues, but also, how is she feeling about herself? Does she have shame? Has she gained weight? Does she have self-loathing? Like all of those kinds of things can really shut a woman down, who, we often see things through our significant other. And so if we're feeling bad about ourselves, we're going to feel bad about the relationship too.
Now, what happens if Victor and his wife have this conversation and she mentions something that maybe the answer from Victor, like if she says, well, I just feel like I've gained weight since we got married 19 years ago. And he says, well, baby, I don't care. I love you anyway. That kind of thing. But what if she says something that all of a sudden he realizes, oh, it's something about me that I need to change. And all of a sudden it's a harder conversation. Then what, JJ?
That if the wife says there's something that Victor needs to change about himself, is that what you're asking? Okay.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure I was following the pronouns there. Yeah. So it comes back to, okay, what kind of man do I want to be? Am I willing to listen to that criticism? Am I willing to own what's there for me to own? And then commit to change, because I want to create an environment where you feel safe to be physically intimate with me, where you feel connected with me. So am I really willing to make those changes, or do I just want you to change to make me happy, but I'm not willing to do anything to turn the tables and bring happiness to you. That's unfair. And I don't want to live that way. Right?
Victor, you and your wife definitely need to attend the Intimacy and Marriage Intensive. It's happening the weekend of July 25th in Washington, D.C. Find out all the details on our website, newlife.com, or call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Hey, thanks for joining us today. We will be back tomorrow, so if you didn't get a chance to call in today, please do so tomorrow, because we would love to chat with you here at New Life Live. And make sure you tell your friends about us, too. God bless you guys. Talk to you next time.
Thanks for listening. We hope this program has helped you by giving you insights for handling the challenges you face in your life. We want you to know that we're here for you, but you also need to know that New Life Live is a listener-supported ministry. To make your donation or to get any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433 or online at newlife.com. Please join us again tomorrow for New Life Live.